Welcome to another episode of the Natalie Fort Show here on GHOne TV. Now, every single episode of the show is special, but tonight is especially so because I'm so excited to be speaking with a man who many of us grew up watching and listening to. Yaw Ampofo Ankrah is a distinguished Ghanaian journalist and media practitioner, techno sports brand ambassador who has made contributions in the field of sports journalism, sports administration, and media as well as marketing over the past 2 decades and counting. I must also add that it seems as though he sort of stopped aging because he still looks as good as he did when he first began. Yaw Ampofo Ankrah, it's so good to have you on this episode of the Natalie Fort Show.
What an introduction.
What an introduction.
And of course, I've been admiring you from afar, but seeing you in real life, you're even more beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. That was a really nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm very glad you liked it. It's important to me. Now, Yaw, you've been doing this, as I was saying, for years, really, for years. One question that we start with on the show all the time is, as we sit right now, what's the state of Yaw's life? What's your life looking like?
It's very interesting. I mean, sometimes it feels as if I'm actually now starting because in the last couple of years, I've done new things, entered new space, learn new skills.
Yeah.
Most recently, I was in Barcelona for a tech program. I'm not a really tech person, We're old school. We started as analog, so
yes.
But it was great because for me it was a new experience, and I'm learning new things. And in the industry that I find myself in, it's very important to always try and be abreast.
Yeah.
So ironically, as time goes, as we're growing,
right,
we're actually now learning new things, and it's very exciting for me. Yeah.
And I think it's a perspective that keeps you youthful. Right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm young at heart,
yeah,
and I try to associate with younger people as much as I can, and I try to learn from younger people because.
Why is it so important to you to keep learning?
Yeah, it's because the industry that we find ourselves, it's continuously, the evolution.
Yeah.
And if you think maybe you know it all, you have this attitude of, I've been there, I've done that, I'm okay, you would find yourself, lagging behind.
You would, exactly.
Yeah. And I think also it's very competitive. It's very exciting. You need to always be abreast as much as you can. Right. You can't learn everything at once, but try to keep up with the trends, and that's what I try to do.
That's what you're doing. So you're in a space of learning new things all the time, right?
Yeah.
You started when you were in your early 20s, 20?
Yeah, I was young, and I always try and tell this story. KKD was my first boss, Sunshine Radio. I don't know if you've heard.
Yes, I have.
So Sunshine Radio were looking for presenters, DJs, editors, what have you, and then I heard about it. So I went over to the studios, which at the time was at Manor Heights on the Nima, near the Nima Kanda,
yes.
opposite Accra Girls Secondary School.
Accra Girls.
So I went in there and I, said, I'm looking for a job. I've heard you're looking for presenters, blah, blah, blah. So to cut a long story short, KKD gave me a script to read. And I read it, and then he said, what do you do? I said, well, nothing. I like sports. Okay, so fire. And I started talking about sports, and he was impressed.
Yeah.
It was a Friday, and then he said, okay, Monday, come back. Come back on Monday. I went back on Monday. He says, okay, you've got the job. And that was it.
And that was it. At 20?
Yeah, I had no training. I hadn't been to Institute of Journalism. I hadn't done radio, nothing.
So then what sort of led you there?
So my big brother, Honorable Elvis Afri Ankrah, I had just come from the UK, and I was trying to find my way around, and he knew that I love the media and I love football, sports, and what have you. So I think he and KKD were friends, and then, but it wasn't because of that. I just went there, and I think he says he liked my voice. This was way back.
You do have a quite
yes, and then
yes.
That was it. And then I started. So my career in the media, I have to thank KKD.
He was your first employer. He was your first boss.
Absolutely, and he was fantastic.
Yeah. Now we'll get to what he taught you as an individual and how that contributed to your path. But then you mentioned your brother, who sort of led the way in a way, even though you personally had an interest in media and sports. What sort of a home did you grow up in? What was your childhood like?
Long story. So I grew up combination of Accra, London.
All right. Where did you go to school?
Okay, so I went to St. Aidan's Primary School in London. Went to St. Aloysius College, Langham School.
Right.
Came to Ghana, did Wesley Grammar.
Okay.
And then I also did Kasek in the Volta region because I couldn't get to write my A-levels at Accra. That's another story.
Right.
So a lot of people see me and they think I went to Accra Academy because I used to go there for extra classes.
Okay.
But I didn't attend Accra Academy.
Okay,
Yeah,
you didn't.
So
where
yeah,
are you from? You're from the Volta region?
So my mom is half Voltarian from Achiabi, and my dad is from, my late dad was from Kokobing in the Ashanti region.
The Ashanti region. So you have Volta region, Ashanti region. How many siblings?
Oof.
Why are they many?
Yeah, those are Kakra. Yeah, we're 14.
Oh my Kakra, you added Kakra.
Yeah, we're 14. You know,
right.
When my dad passed, I think that is when we all actually met together at once for the first time. We knew each other, but that was when we all
You didn't all grow up together, of course.
No. We all grew up.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
So you grew up with?
I grew up with my mum in the UK in London, you know, single parent, but I was in touch with my dad. Those days we used to write letters. So once a month I would write to him and he would occasionally, you know, reply. Even though they were not together, there was a good vibe, there was respect.
Right.
And I think, you know, in life, these things, you need to deal with it and move on rather than using that as an excuse.
As a stumbling block.
Because for me, I grew up in a fancy household, English, Akan.
A mix of different
cultures. So I really had the best of different worlds. Which has shaped me. Which
has contributed to who you are. Interesting childhood. So fast forward, when you got into journalism, as you've mentioned, with KKD being your first employer, you remember the day and all. You said it was a Friday.
Yeah, it was a Friday.
And then you began work on Monday?
On a Monday. So
what was that like?
Oh man, it was terrifying. I mean, I wanted it, but I'm like, whoa, I'm going on radio just like that. And I remember the first story I did because that weekend, Ghana had played against Morocco in Kumasi in a big game, in a qualifier. So I came and sat, and KKD and I had a conversation. But it was still unreal, you know. I hadn't been on radio before, And KKD is great because he gave me and the rest of the guys a lot of support, a lot of advice. And one thing he always used to say is that, you know, go to school, improve yourself. You've got the talent, but that alone will not.
It's not going to take you far.
Yeah, he was a great guy. He was a big brother figure. You know, still is. I wish I had more time to thank him more because what he saw in me way back is basically what has opened
these doors for
me. You know, Super Sports, BBC, Multimedia, Metro, all the stations literally in Ghana. So KKD is the man who should take credit.
So KKD, I hope he sees this. And what was the one key thing he taught you, aside the fact that you needing to sort of support your talent with education? What else, as a man, as an individual, what did you pick up from him?
Yeah, you know, he always used to say that radio is about being yourself. So it's easier for you to go on radio, just be yourself and connect to your audience. So you're not presenting. KKD taught me that. He said, you're not presenting, you are talking to an audience. So I always had that at the back, you know, of my mind. And then he also told me about the fact that, look, it's not about talking to hundreds of thousands or millions of people. No, you're talking to one person and then multiply that. Don't assume, don't get it twisted, And he was always, you know, on point with, he's the one who also said, look, when you're on air, project. So I remember, and up to now I do that. When you go on air, automatically you remember, and then you set up before you can relax. And these are the things that KKD taught myself and the rest of the guys. Which
other personalities have stood out for you throughout the course of your
time
career?
at Sunshine Radio.
At Sunshine Radio?
Yeah,
which
you know,
others?
interestingly, Sunshine, we had Fifi Pratt, who's still in the industry, Kwame Fache, Swift,
Yes. Used to listen to him.
Kofi Dixon,
Right.
you know, the late Jamie Ajete, Baba Ando, you know, Kwabena Peku, the list, I mean, Yaw Dakwa, George Brune came later, Tommy Annan-Forson came later.
Yeah.
The list. John Jermaine, you know, Yao Sechi, they all came through. So I think Choice or Sunshine, Uncle Fred has a blessing on all of us who passed through his, you know, his stable. Because I can confidently say that all these guys later went on, either in radio or TV, whatever they did, they went on to
build a big name for themselves. Yeah.
So Uncle Fred too, I need to appreciate him and acknowledge his contribution to my radio and my media.
As a young man at the time, I mean, the names you've mentioned are mostly men.
Yeah.
Right. You grew up with your mother for the most part, who you said,
and my sister,
and your sister.
Right, yes.
Okay, so, but your mother was a single mom. Your father was involved here and there, but not
present.
So not
that's
present.
what they say, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, physically, because I'm sure he was present in other ways, but he wasn't actually present. Right. As a young man, having started your career at the age of 20, and having many men serve as sort of take you by the hand and open doors for you. What did it do to you as a man, as a young man in that space?
Yeah, it's ironic because I think the earlier parts in the UK, it was my mom, my sister, and then my aunties.
That's a lot of women.
Yes, so it was women who brought me up up to a certain stage, and then the men took over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
On holiday, I'll go to my auntie, and she had, you know, daughters. My cousins were, so I was surrounded by a lot of ladies. You know, so I was pampered at an early age, and I was treated with, you know, love and affection. So later, I think I had challenges with the discipline of men and the commands, but I grew into it. And in Ghana, for example, the respect system, you know, you cannot speak back, you know.
Yes. Was it difficult for you? Coming from the UK?
It wasn't difficult. It was more of you need to restrain yourself, even if you have something positive to say in a respectful way.
Exactly.
You've got to be careful, you know, so that you're not seen as disrespectful. But I had both worlds, you know, a lot of love from my mom, my aunties, my sisters, and then of course, you know, my dad and my brother, and so I had a real good balance. Yeah.
Right. How did both of your parents feel when your media career started taking shape?
You know, for my dad, he was. I wouldn't say he was against it. It was like, okay, you know, but do something serious, like, you know.
What was his definition of serious?
Yeah, because, and don't forget, at that time, I think radio, it was GBC, and then there was, I think, Joy, private,
right,
and then the rest were all, you know, Ghana Broadcasting. I could be wrong, maybe Radio Gold, but so it's like, okay, he hadn't even heard of Sunshine Radio.
Right.
So how long are you doing this for? I said, yeah, I want to take it far. Yeah, but will you get money? Do you get paid?
Yeah.
And at the beginning, it wasn't about money. I wasn't really getting paid. I would have paid to get that opportunity because I could see that this space is going
to,
you know, and it's a hobby. Imagine your hobby being allowed to, you know, flow with your hobby, and then you're getting paid. Yes, you're young, you're naive a little bit. You don't think about responsibilities that are coming up. But for me, that was an opening.
Prospects you could see.
That was an opening. And I think looking back, it's a calling.
Yeah.
It's a calling. I think, you know, media, broadcasting has brought me so much. Has opened doors. I've traveled all over the world. If it wasn't for the media, radio, TV, you know, I wouldn't be traveling around the world and meeting people. And I think for me, this is what I've always wanted to do.
So you're meant to do, right?
This is what you're meant to I've branched out, you know, sports administration.
But the core of it is
absolutely,
media,
absolutely.
Now we'll get into some of the, you mentioned you were young and naive. I started at 20 as well.
Oh, great.
So your story kind of speaks to me there.
Right.
So we'll talk about some of the challenges, the difficulties,
Yeah.
mistakes that you probably made. And then, of course, your career fully taking shape and taking flight. Do stay with us here on the Natalie Fort Show. You're welcome back to the Natalie Fort Show, and I've been in conversation with what I describe as legendary sports broadcaster, sports personality, Yaw Ampofo Ankrah, here on the Natalie Fort Show. Yeah, we're talking about beginning, right? And family and all that. And you've mentioned 2021, you started. You were young, relatively young.
1998,
1998.
99, yeah, 2000, you know. Yeah.
You've been in this for ages.
Achapa.
Yeah, you've been in this for ages. Now, at such a young age, right, and I'm sure some of the reservations coming from your father were the fact that you were so young and in this career that didn't seem like a career. What were some of the mistakes that you feel you made? Things you could have done differently?
Oh, yeah, definitely the strategic lack of strategy,
Right.
because you see, there was no templates, there was no yardstick. Yes, KKD was there, as I said, later Tommy and Forson. I was lucky to have really good broadcasters and industry people around who had also, they were, blazing their trail and all the rest. But for me, at such a young age, I was just having fun.
Yeah.
This is a dream.
Right.
I mean, being on radio, doing sports is my hobby. This is not a job.
It's not a job, exactly.
You didn't see the commercial side. You didn't see the, So as time went on, I mean, doors were opening left, right,
Yeah.
center. It was crazy. And I think things were happening so fast, you don't pause to analyze and be strategic. And at that time, I didn't have a manager per se.
Yeah.
I think nowadays, a lot of the media
Have managers, right.
and they kind of look ahead, look above, look around, they protect, because the media has become very commercial.
Yeah.
At our time, we were setting the pace,
Yes.
as it were. So that was important, because I know my first trip was to Malaysia to cover the Commonwealth Games.
Nice.
Uncle Fred Owari made sure it happened. I went on my own, and it was a great experience, but it was all about fun, having fun, having the experience, and since then I've been to other Commonwealth Games, World Cup, Olympics,
Lots of
and all the rest.
traveling.
And every time I go, it's a different approach now because of the experience. So strategically, there was nothing like that. And money comes to you. And one thing I also have to say is that I did a lot of voiceovers, at an early stage. KKD encouraged me to do that. And then later, when I went to the BBC, I was voice trained by Jenny Horrocks.
You were voice trained.
And Martin Davis.
Nice.
So they trained me on voice production and how to read certain scripts in a certain manner. So I learned that at the BBC.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I've earned a living from doing
voiceovers. It's still a source of income.
It's been a blessing. I think my biggest break was in the UK, getting calls, and we want you to do a 30 seconds, 1 minute, and so that was great for me.
Right.
So as time went on, I realized that, hey, responsibility, bills to pay.
Yes.
Then you get married, and then kids, and then you realize that, hold on, I could be actually doing more and earning more.
Yeah.
And then you start negotiating differently, and that is where you start having problems, because normally people are like, oh, we mommy, do it for me.
And they know you're okay.
But then when you're like, okay, I will, but
more.
it comes at a cost.
Right.
Then you become a bad person.
Relationships can suffer.
So that took a while for people to appreciate that you're not doing it just for fun. If it's your gift, you still have to compensate me for what I have,
So making more intelligent financial decisions at the onset.
Yeah.
Now, after Sunshine Radio, what was next for you? I know you've got
so
BBC
Choice FM
and
came
a
in.
wealth of experience.
Tommy and Forson took over. George Brune, came through, and then Joy FM came through.
Joy, yes.
Multimedia. Samuel Mensa, another of my mentors, great guy.
Yeah.
Took me to Joy. It was...
Why do you smile when you talk about him?
Yeah, fun memories. He's a great guy. I mean, if you know Samens.
Yeah.
And he also taught me a lot of good stuff. I went there and I met Doreen Ando and Komla Dumont, and that was when they were beginning to make a name for themselves. So I went there just at the right time. And obviously, Komla Dumo, one of the best broadcasters I've ever worked with. Doreen, Doreen Ando. So I learned a lot. And Samolata Mensa Samens was not just a manager. He also groomed and mentored me. So in the UK, when I got married and I went to the UK and was doing my first degree at Berwick, City of London, I was doing humanities and media.
Right.
I needed extra money, bills, which is normal.
Which is normal, yes. It
so you work, and I was doing, so Samens got me a security job.
Wait, okay. So you were in the UK studying. Married at the time?
Mm-hmm.
You got married in Ghana?
Got married in Ghana.
And then you left the UK. And of course, now you have responsibilities outside of yourself. So you're saying Samens got you a job to support your education, everything you were doing. And it was as a security?
Security. I was a security guy.
You were a security guy?
At a company called Mastec.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And Samens got me that job.
What was that like, though? Because you've been a media personality, and then you're working as a security. I know.
Charlie,
I can imagine.
Bills. London.
You need to get what needs to get done.
UK is a leveler. You don't.
Right. You're not thinking about all of that.
Take the bus, take the tube.
Yes. It's not like really.
So sometimes I'll close.
And what did you learn as a security man?
That was also very huge in my life. And, I closed from BBC. I've got my bag. Go change in my uniform. We were in uniform.
Yeah.
And then, but I was indoors. It wasn't like I was guarding the building.
Okay.
So I was indoors. But it was Medical Research Council, their headquarters. In central London, one of the plush areas. And my job was that every 1 hour, I patrol the building inside. So I go up the stairs, and then there's an electronic machine, and then you swipe. So I'll do this. Maybe I'll start at 9 p.m. and close at 6 a.m.
And then when does your work with?
So then I'll be off during the day, and then maybe it's my timetable with BBC. So according to my timetable, I'll tell my supervisor that I want nights for 1 month. It's a security guard, and I'm very proud of it.
Proud of it.
Oh yes,
which is important too, because it's all part of your journey.
I think,
story.
If you don't know someone, you can easily judge. You can easily say that Natalie, beautiful girl, she doesn't have any problems. She's probably got 1 million in a bank account, but Natalie has to work. She has to grind. She has to read. She has to research. People sort of do not give a lot of media people the respect that they deserve. And I think that it is an industry where Ghana, we're getting to the next level. And just look around, some of the guys who've made it, not just in radio or TV, but beyond that.
Bulare, of course.
Nanaba,
and Nana,
Emma Morrison.
Yeah.
I can name them.
They're big names.
Who've gone into politics. Suhini, Alassane, Kojo Point, Nkrumah. The list goes on. And these people all had their foundation from the media. So the potential is huge. You can become president. You can do anything. We've got media people who are leading federations at international levels and, in Africa. So the potential is huge. And I think it's an area that I would easily ask or recommend anybody to get into.
Young people particularly to get into.
You learn a lot.
So organizationally, there's been Sunshine, there's been TV3. There's been
Metro TV.
Metro.
Yes.
You've got a lot of companies.
I know. Super Sport.
Super Sport.
I left to the UK. I applied for internship at the BBC, and then when I got there, Martin Davis was there. Martin Davis used to come to Ghana, multimedia. He used to train the journalists. And he says, okay, to cut a long story short, and Ben Duche Malo, who's a Ghanaian. So they interviewed us. We're about 8, and 2 of us were picked. Myself and another English boy called James Copno. So that's when I started BBC. I was given 6 months, and then after 6 months, it was extended. Had a 1-year contract. I did radio. I was writing. And then I became an anchor for Fast Track. Sports show and radio. So everything was happening
quickly,
really fast, and I think I'm blessed. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm lucky.
You've had a number of, key opportunities really within
breaks,
your
a lot of
space
breaks.
globally.
Yeah.
So working at the BBC, what did you pick up from there? It's the leading news network.
Wow, BBC changed my life because up till now, I have friends at the BBC. Up to now, I get calls from people who used to work at the BBC who are elsewhere. And it's like, okay, I'm coming to Ghana next week. I need to do this and that. Can you help? Or there's an opportunity here in South Africa. You know, do you think you can do it? Can you come? How much do you charge? This is all because I had that relationship with my BBC family. So for me, it's been a huge blessing. Same with multimedia.
And all the companies you've
Metro,
worked with,
you know.
And I see that you value relationships, you know, like you value
Yeah.
the places you've worked at, the relationships don't end when you've ended your service there, which is very, very
But I must admit, I've not been very good at, going back and, for example, Samens. I don't know the last time I went to visit him. But, he's a great guy. Kwesi Chum, multimedia. I mean, these are legends. These are men who gave us the opportunity. And
you think we celebrate these personalities enough in media in Ghana?
Not enough.
Not enough. Yeah.
Not enough. Yeah, not enough.
Yeah.
Looking back, these guys, they paved the way for us, and
absolutely,
I'll forever be grateful. Super Sports came in later. Did a stint there with South Africa, and up to now, I have, good relations with them. So the media has been excellent.
Huge.
Emma Morrison took me to TV3. We were neighbors.
Oh, were you?
Yes.
Right, where?
East Legon.
Okay.
So I knew Emma and her sisters, and she was like, "There's a new station coming up, Yaw. You need to come." But Yaw at that time
did you ever rethink did you question as to whether you wanted to take that path, or was it just your mentors and people you look up to are opening these doors for you?
For TV, no, I wasn't.
You were not interested. Why? Were you not confident enough?
I was not confident enough. I was a very skinny boy with big ears, and I said, nah.
You didn't feel attractive enough?
Not that. I can't sit on TV.
Why?
And I just thought it wasn't for me.
Okay.
I just know. Radio is safe. Radio.
It is, though.
No cameras.
There's some mystery behind it.
Yeah, you talk. You go. Nobody knows you.
Exactly.
Take Trotro from Accra girls to
no one is
that
going
time
to
I
judge
was
your lifestyle.
living in Kaneshi with my dad, and I'll take Trotro with Isopele.
Okay.
We used to live in the same.
Nice.
Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
Television. Now people recognize you.
And everything you're doing, if you take Trotro, that becomes an issue.
You take Trotro, and everybody wants to pay for you.
Right.
It's but that's life. You need to be humble and take things as they happen. And I don't have.
So then, what made you say yes eventually to Emma's? I can imagine
Emma is my witness.
But what made you say
yes
to her?
Emma she literally held my hand and took me to TV3. Okay. And I was like, nah, I can't do this. Charlie, God bless Emma Morrison. Because at the time, no, I didn't think I could do it. But here I am. So KKD, Emma Morrison, Tommy Anamforson.
You have to write a book someday.
Yeah, I think God plays these great people everywhere, every step.
Yeah.
They'll be there, and hey, I just love them, and they've been a blessing to me. Yeah.
What did TV change for you? I mean, you had a bit of mystery with radio. You could live your life, so to speak. What did TV change in your life?
Yeah, a different kind of pressure, you know? Yeah, a different kind of pressure, which at the time perhaps I took for granted. You go places and people recognize you, so you're like, okay, should I just be myself?
Exactly.
You know, pick my nose.
You do that?
No, I'm just saying, just be free and relax. I'm very calm now. When I was younger, I was very shit.
Yeah.
Shit. Now I'm a little bit calmer,
right.
you know, as we grow. But yeah, so I had to adjust to the fact that you're coming on TV, so you can't just behave anyhow when you're in public.
Yeah.
And that
what did you dislike about it? Like
the privacy, the fact that anybody can recognize you, and generally it's good. Generally it's fun, but you occasionally get somebody who wants to be up in your face. Yeah, somebody.
And talking about privacy, I mean, one thing that I think changes the path or just the environment for a lot of media personalities is marriage and children, right? Be it male or female, mostly male, but mostly female, but male as well. At what age did you get married and start?
Oh, before my 27th birthday.
Before you were 27? That's young.
Yeah, I got married. Looking back, I think I got married too early.
You got married very early.
But at the time,
Right.
I think I was ready for it, you know. And yeah, you meet a woman and you're in love with the person, and you're like, okay, so why wait 2 years or next year? You know, that was my mentality. We got married, it was good, it was tough, you know, so we went to the UK, stayed with my mum for a while until I rented my own place.
How were your parents about the marriage? Just
my mum was cool. Yeah, my mum was cool, my dad was cool, but moving to the UK was tricky, you know, because
a bit of a gamble, I guess.
My wife was in the hospitality industry, so she had to switch, you know, to the medical field. She's now a nurse. It's decisions that you need to take for the future.
Exactly.
You know, so that's tricky. So you're right. And in that respect, you try and keep things private. You try not to. It's okay if I post myself, I'm here, I'm doing this. But it gets to a point you realize that, okay, I may not need to necessarily include my wife and kids.
And you do have kids.
Yes, unless it's an anniversary or something. Back in the day, I would post my kids all the time.
Did you have a bad experience also?
I'm wiser now.
Okay.
You know, I think it's okay. I just think we should protect our children.
Protecting children,
They may grow and you know, people know me, but I didn't want to be in this space. You know, it's Natalie that is the famous one. Maybe your kids may not want that unless they decide, oh, Yaw. So I kind of now hold back, and unless I feel it's very necessary to celebrate something, fine. And it's not everybody who wants you to be putting all your good stuff on social media. Social media is strange, Natalie.
It is. Yeah. You never know really what's going on in the minds of people who are watching. You don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've got to be careful. You don't want to expose everything about your life on social media.
Yeah.
Like you said, you never know.
You never know.
You know. So nowadays, I'm a little bit more about the professional stuff, my work, travel, and I try to keep my private life, out of it. Yeah.
It's respecting them too.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So we'll talk a bit more about work opportunities that have come out of your media career, and what you're doing with those opportunities, and the next steps for you. Do stay with us here on the Natalie Fort Show. I've been in conversation with Yaw Ampofo Ankrah here on the Natalie Fort Show. A special thank you to Dr. House Exclusive for giving us this beautiful space for this episode of the Natalie Fort Show here on GHOne TV. Yaw, you really are the type of person I feel I can talk to for a very long time. There's a lot to...
tell me all your secrets. You're sorted.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so you were talking about your long career in media, and at the point where you got wiser and got more intelligent, managed your finances and all that better, what opportunities did media provide for you outside of the field, and how did you leverage on those?
Yeah. Really, really good question. I think you've basically encapsulated why we're in this space, and hopefully the younger ones coming through would start at this point, not later, as we are. But thankfully, because of the, excuse me, the good people around me and the networks that I've built, it hasn't been a disaster. I've had ups and downs. You know, at a point I was not working for any media organization. I was on my own for about 2 years. Right. And that's when I learned a lot of, you know, looking after myself and making money in the media space. You're not earning a salary at the end of the month. You've got to look sharp. And that's when I went to Atlantis Radio with a proposal for an independent sports show. So I actually had an independent sports show on Atlantis for about a year and a half, you know, with the late Big J. Right. That was great. And that is when I met Gary Al Smith at GIJ, and I'm like, this kid is fantastic. Brilliant. All right. So Gary Al Smith became my first producer on my independent sports show on Atlantis. And here, you know, that I really have so much love and respect for Gary and what he's done, what he's doing, where he's coming from. I could see it from way, way back. And I think one thing too is that because people helped me and I felt that I needed to do the same, it's not strange. I if I can help, I would help.
Why not?
You know, I may not be able to give you a million, but I can
open a door,
connect, and that's something that has, I've learned from. Currently, I'm working with Techno Mobile.
Yes, you are. Sports
I'm not,
influencer.
as I said, I'm not big on tech, but I've had to learn the ropes. They sent me out to various assignments in Singapore, in Europe, in Asia, and you have to be prepared. And thankfully, Techno makes sure that they prepare you. So it's a new field for me, but I believe it's because of what I've done in the past that has given me the passport to be working with Techno. They look at my track record and they feel that, So opportunities like Techno, there are others. Some are
private
consultancy,
amazing,
and in the sports field, I'm also the communications director for the Ghana Olympic Committee, and I'm really blessed to have been appointed that role. Herbert Mensah, whom I also worked with, I have a lot of respect for, recommended me, and then the current president, Benunu Mensah, approved, and so I've been at that post for the last 3 years or so. So all these opportunities are blessings that have come along the way, and I'm really grateful. And then there's beach soccer. Beach soccer is something that I introduced with my good friend Albert Frimpong and others, and now we have a sport, an association, we have teams, we have a national team. We're ranked by FIFA, by CAF.
That's a great accomplishment. Actually.
And it wasn't me; it was the people around who supported and who helped. So in sports, in media, and off it, it's been a blessing. I cannot have complaints. It's not been great.
Easy, smooth all
no. And funny enough, some of the biggest challenges would come from your own colleagues and, within your space. And as I get older or more experienced, I've decided that if there's an issue within the working environment, you can deal with it head on and have a compromise, or if there's no compromise, you have the freedom to move on for your peace. So it's about your choice. It's about and I've walked away from a few situations.
They come up.
Maybe if I was older then, I may have paused.
Have handled it differently.
Because sometimes you leave and the person that is stressing you also leaves, and then it's
got it.
Do you go back because of one person? And then you have personality clash. Maybe your boss doesn't see eye to eye with you. When I say your boss, maybe your department. If you're not the head, and if you're strong-headed like me, and you have a certain vision, you've got to be humble to put it to one side, because you realize that there's a people who maybe has a different vision, and then wait for the understanding. So it's been interesting. But you even get attacked by your own colleagues when things come up, which is sad, but it's possible. It's part of the industry.
You started at 20, so now how old are you?
You're doing the mathematics.
Okay.
Around 20-ish. Yes, I started around 20.
20-ish. So 40s.
You do the mathematics.
I get the point. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Somewhere in his 40s, but no, really. And as I was saying, you still look great, so sprightly and passionate about everything you're doing. Now, one thing that comes with success sometimes can be a sense of complacency. You're not even having a lot of clarity on what to do next when you've checked a lot of your initial goals. What's next for you? Is it in sports? Is it in a totally different field?
Yeah, another great question. I mean, look, Natalie, at a point I thought, Charlie, let me just relax. I mean, I'm good to go. I can, I think I got complacent at some points because I was getting things too easy, and it can happen. And I don't think it got to my head, but maybe it got to another part of me. Ichimode. But it wasn't because I didn't respect others. It was more that I was being pampered. I used to get anything that I want.
It was easy. right?
Yeah,
Somewhat.
yeah, it looks looking
Opportunities,
back,
some
yeah.
opportunities came.
Because when Metro TV came for me, and I've never said this anywhere, Talal Fatal came to London. I was co-MC for Miss Ghana UK
Nice.
with Doreen Ando.
Great.
Talal Fatal was a judge, and he said that he's starting up a station in Ghana, sports, and he would want me to come
Right.
and basically anchor it, you know. And I thought, yeah, I know Talal Fatal, great guy, but surely you don't expect me to leave BBC and come back
Right.
to Ghana.
To Ghana, right.
And so we had a nice, I said, nah, I don't think so. Took his
You
number.
turned it down, okay.
That evening he called me and said, I'm at this hotel, you know, take a cab and come. I said, boss, taxi. They said, well, take anything, just come to the hotel. So out of respect, I went there. We had a conversation and he said, Yaw, come, try it. You just come. If you don't like it, go back to the UK. Spoke to my wife and she was like, oh, I mean, you can't leave BBC. I mean, are you crazy?
It's BBC, right?
So, cut a long story short, it was in 2005, Ghana was looking for a coach for the Black Stars. My boss had interviewed Ratime Dukovic. I think he was coach of Rwanda. Was he Rwanda or Burundi at the time? Right. And he agreed to come to Ghana. Now, everything happened at once. And then I left BBC with permission, like a long leave, came to Ghana.
Okay, like a long leave, right.
And Ghana qualified for the World Cup. Right. So now I'm supposed to go back. But Ghana just qualified for the World Cup for the first time.
For the first time.
And Talal said, I want you to do a program called The Diary. So come up with ideas. So we sat together and we came up with this Black Stars Diary in Germany. So things just kept on. Eventually, I had to go back and explain to Martin Davis, my boss, that
BBC.
This is a great opportunity. This is a prospect, and I would want to give it some time. And he was like, okay, our doors are always open. You can come back at any time. And that was it. And I've always been in touch with him since. I've gone back BBC a couple of times as well, but I've not gone back to work
professionally on a full time.
You know.
So Talal got what he wanted.
Talal, yeah. So I had a place at Parakou Estate, fully furnished, fridge, TV, furniture. I've never said this, but I think it's important to say it because people may not understand what really happened.
Right.
And Talal gave me everything that I needed.
Made you like comfortable.
I'm like, whoa, this is Ghana. I didn't think it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Made it worth your time.
Yep. So I was made a king at Metro. Talal made sure that if I had any issues, take care of it. He would buy me a ticket to go back to London. So these are things, these are people that
you owe it all to.
I God bless them, and it's not about me. So people shouldn't think, sorry, I became Yaw Ampofo Ankrah. No.
Yeah.
These guys held my hand, they pushed me, they navigated, they supported, they helped. Dr. Kofi Amwa, for example. I can name them. Carl Tufor, Kwabena Yabua. So I owe it all to them.
Who are you really without those people?
Thank you, my dear.
It's so true.
Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. I said I could talk to you for really long, but
time
is
as
an
well.
hour, so we're done. It's been wonderful really having you on the Natalie Fort Show, and your path is very inspiring, and how you process everything is even more inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We've got Fantastic next with Yaw. It's time for Fantastic. And yeah, I'm going to be playing a game with you. It's fun.
Okay.
It's not entirely, it's somewhat serious, but it's a game nonetheless.
Surprise,
Now,
surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Okay. So in 1 minute, I want you to tell me, of course, our viewers, if you were sports minister today, what would you do differently? What 3 major reforms will you bring to the sports sector in Ghana? In a minute.
In a minute. Okay, great. So first of all, I would go to the grassroots in the 16 regions of Ghana and set up education centers, because the little I've seen in my little travels over the years is that sports without education, you wouldn't go far. So grassroots, I mean, the youngest talents that we have, they don't have money to go for trials, their parents don't have it, but they're there. Who's going to support them? Who's going to support them? Let's get these communities or villages and start from that side. 2, I would go out and source for millions and millions of dollars. When I get that, then I'll know what to do with it, because I think the reliance on state has actually been a setback for Ghana sports. So I need to go out there, look for money, billions, millions, and then come up and set up what should be the next generation of sports development in Ghana.
And the third, final?
As a sports minister?
Yes.
If at the time there hasn't been a female deputy sports minister, I would bring her in, because it's very important to bring the women on board. Yes, I support women, I'm for all inclusiveness, but if a woman is there handling that, it would go much, much further.
Great. Perfect.
Stephanie?
So, sports minister. Yeah, so those are your reforms as sports minister. Stephanie. Very good. Thank you. Yeah, it's been wonderful really having you on the show. We've got a little something for you.
You do?
Yes.
But wait, I have something for you.
you?
Well, how do we do it? Who goes first?
Oh, do you really?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's nice.
What do we do?
What do we do?
Okay, I'll show you mine.
You go first. You go first.
Yeah, I'll show you
it's
mine.
right behind you. Okay.
Yes,
wow,
yes,
I didn't know that.
When you weren't looking,
Okay.
your producer.
Oh, gifty.
You know, when we were young, we used to play a game. Show me yours and I'll show you mine.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I work for
Techno,
and this is one of our new branded mugs. You work very hard, so whether it's
I do.
hot,
This is pretty,
or
and I
cold,
like mugs. I love my warm coffee and tea.
you can enjoy yourself. Yep, and this,
it's beautiful.
maybe I should take it out so that you can see.
Yes,
This is coming from the World Technology Conference in Barcelona,
which you just went to. Not
yeah, I
long
just
ago.
came back from, and this is especially for you.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Stop at nothing.
Reach for the future.
Yeah, you look like a techno person. You're beautiful, you're intelligent, and we're looking to the future. So this is something small for you.
This is beautiful. I will make use of these. They are actually items I really will make use of. Reach for the future by Techno. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of getting something for me. I really appreciate it. Okay, now it's my turn, no? Show me yours, show me. What's the game again?
Yes. Show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Okay,
or the other way around.
Let me show you mine.
Yeah.
So my producer, Gifty, she's been sneaking around. Got this
wow.
place behind me.
Wow. Ooh,
For you.
that is super. Super.
Yeah.
Did you do that yourself?
I did. I would never not take credit. No, I love art, but I'm not that good at art.
That's awesome.
It was done by a gentleman called Victor.
Wow.
And he's the owner of a digital painting company called Imagine Flip.
That's beautiful.
Very talented young man, young Ghanaian talent. So to those of you watching as well, and yeah, you can visit his page on Instagram.
Imagine
X.
Flip.
Yes, Imagine Flip. And Facebook
Beautiful.
at Imagine Flip.
Awesome. This is beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate. Yeah, thank you very much.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you like wearing the little.
Yeah,
caps,
I'm a hat person.
You are?
For two reasons.
Why?
Sakura. And also at an early age, anytime I wear a hat, people are like, oh, that looks really nice on you.
Yeah.
So
No, it looks decent.
it's my uniform.
It's your look.
I have matching hats. I think I have about 80 to 100 hats at home.
100?
Yeah.
That's a huge collection.
Natalie, thank you very much.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
that. Imagine
Flip. Yes. Right
Thank you
here.
very much. I appreciate that.
You're
Also,
welcome. From
also.
I and the entire crew here and team at the Natalie Fort Show. And thank you too for my gift.
Merci
It's
beaucoup.
been an absolute pleasure, Yaw, sitting with you here on the Natalie Fort Show. Your story is beyond inspiring. So keep going as well and stop at nothing.
Hope to see you very soon as well.
Thank you too
Awesome.
for watching this episode of the Natalie Fort Show here on GHOne TV. Do stay with us. We've got Proud of My Hustle next.
From your teammates, the top pampers were the station. The two, the sign baku. Oh, first what they say, giant to me, fan two just that's a year. Said the TDI. I am from your teammates. I'm proud of my husband.
It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you tonight's episode of the Natalie Fort Show. And Yaw Ampofo Ankrah's story really stood out to me. It's left me with many nuggets, but one key thing that I think I'd remember really for the rest of my life is how much attention and honor he gives to the people who are all part of his story. Now, oftentimes, be it in media or whatever profession we may find ourselves, it's very easy to think you did it on your own. He built the Yaw Ampofo Ankrah brand on his own, the Natalie Fort brand on my own. But it's not quite the case. There are many people, both in family and organizations, that contributed to getting you where you are today. So that's my little note I'd like to leave with you this evening. No matter where you are or how big you might find your brand, never forget to pay homage to the people who brought you up where you are today. So in the spirit of that, I'd like to also recognize others who've been part of my journey in my media career. Jonathan Odro Denchi, Gabriel Bosom-Pim, Beatrice Ajmine Abe, of course, Nanaba Namwa, and Bolore. The list goes on and on. A thank you to those of you who've been part of my career and are yet to be. And thank you too for watching the Natalie Fort Show. Thanks to my entire crew and producer. Have a wonderful evening. See you next time with more conversations that matter.